Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. Welcome back to a new video. It's going to be a roundup of yesterday's madness deadline day. Turned out to be a fairly productive day for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Normally, we are set up for failure, or at least we get our hopes up, but that wasn't really the case yesterday, thankfully. So a bit of a roundup of what's happened, the big sale, the players that have come in, and of course the what ifs, those rejected deals that we will go on to talk about as well over the last 24 hours. Firstly, guys, I'd love for you to let me know in the comment section down below to give me your rating for the transfer window, what you have thought of our business throughout January as well. Tried my best to keep up with it yesterday. Some of you may know I was obviously down in London with Sky Sports for deadline day as well. Yeah, kept myself in the loop. Obviously, I couldn't upload anything on here yesterday. But let's start off, obviously, with the incomings. Firstly, Adam Armstrong. That was the first one that was announced. And, of course, that's moved quite quickly. There were a few whispers earlier in the month about Adam Armstrong. But the deal came to fruition quite quickly, seeing as the bid, the news about the bid was Sunday. That got accepted very quickly. And, obviously, it then completed yesterday. Rob Edwards has made comments about him on the club's website. He said obviously he's a striker, can play. He's someone who could play off the sides if we wanted to. He'll see himself as a 9 and as a goal scorer, but he's more than that. I think he'll work incredibly hard for the team. Very good with his work rate. But like everyone these days, all players have got to be able to work incredibly hard and able to press the right way and work for the team. And he does all those things. They come naturally to him. In regards to position, of course, he's more than likely going to be that backup to Tolu. But I think also what it would be is not even necessarily backup, a rotation option for Tolu, but could also play in that Hwang role, because Hwang at the moment, obviously playing off the left, which Adam Armstrong can do, plays at times quite tight to Tolu as well. And what I think he's got, Adam Armstrong, which is important, that we haven't got enough of, his pace as well. So having that pace in that final third, someone who can work hard. Now, the big question mark for us, despite him being a forward, is goals. Now, at this level, a lot of you will know the goals haven't been easy for him. But if I flag up this graphic here, in terms of his seasons in the Championship. So at the top there is his current season for Southampton, 32 games so far, already notching 11 goals and 4 assists. So just under a goal contribution every other game, really. The less said about the second one, the better, really. But I know he didn't have the best of spells at our noisy neighbours, to be honest. But then you go to his last 3 Championship campaigns. For Southampton in 23-24, 24 goals and 13 assists. And then for Blackburn Rovers as well, 17 goals and 7 assists in 1920 and 29 goals and 5 assists in 2021. So I know, look, a lot of us are saying, oh, it's a Championship signing or whatever. It probably is. It is, really. But for us to be bringing him in, a player that obviously knows that he's probably going to be playing in the Championship again next season, but climatise himself to Wolverhampton and the area, the fans, the training ground, and then you've got a ready-made player for the Championship from the first day of pre-season. This is a proactive signing for next season, and this is what a lot of people were saying at the start of January anyway. Let's prepare for the Championship. Let's get the signings in. There are obviously some people turning their nose up at this, which I do understand, because you still want to act like a Premier League team between now and the day that we have the big massive letter R next to our name on the league table. But I don't dislike this signing, especially if it can bang the goals in for us next season, and hopefully, we can be at the top end of the table next season. Whether he can continue and make the step up for us in the Premier League, that's a situation and a scenario we can handle and cover when it comes to that. But Adam Armstrong to Wolves, 7 million plus 2 million in potential add-ons as well. I don't dislike this deal, and I'm hoping that he can get us at least a handful of goals between now and the end of the season, and we can see what he is about. The second signing of deadline day was Angel Gomes from Marseille, and this one as well, it was linked last week, and it almost felt a little bit hard to believe. And then even Fabrizio, first thing on Sunday, had said it was like a done deal. And like I said to a few of you guys, because some people were asking me in regards to the clause, saying, is the clause dependent on if we stay up or when we go down? Because that was quite a big thing that was part of the original piece of news that came out as well. So when I asked the club, they said, well, it's not really at the moment as advanced as Fabrizio is making out. So that concerned me a little bit, and he was really quiet on Sunday still about Angel Gomes and his potential move to Wolves. But thankfully, yesterday morning, there was almost confirmation that Gomes and Armstrong are both heading to Wolverhampton to have their medicals completed. So this is a signing that I am really, really excited about. He's always a player that has had a lot of quality, a lot of hype, a lot of potential. He's at 25 now, so this is probably the stage of his career where he needs to be starting to settle down and really kick on. He's played for some really big top clubs in regards to quality. Limited starts and limited minutes already this season for Marseille, but 3 goals for him in the top division of France. He can play in that midfield role, and I'm thinking similar to how he sort of used Arias and Mane over the last month or so. I think this is probably a similar role. You're probably aware he's only little, he's lightweight, but his ability, quality on the ball, is something that will hopefully help us massively. And what is huge with this, or potentially huge, it's a 1 million loan fee. Wolves have got a 6 million option to buy, which is still valid if and or when we go down to the Championship. He surely is coming here knowing there is a possibility that we will go down. I would love it if he does quite well between now and the end of the season. I would love it if we can keep him, because he would be an unbelievably good player to have in the Championship. However, on the flip side of that, and I've seen some people mention it, and I do agree, this could almost be an audition for him, a way for him to get back into the Premier League, more eyes on him. He impresses between now and the end of the season. There's that opportunity that he may well stay in the Premier League with somebody else. But what Wolves can do for £7 million for a homegrown player, if you can show the ability between now and the end of the season, you could double your money easily come the summer. So we will wait and see. But I'm hoping between now and the summer at least is going to be a success for Angel Gomes. For what he said himself in his Wolves interview in regards to position, and he says he has no preference on where he plays, wherever he can help the team, get on the ball, create, dictate, whatever the game needs. I'm there to be able to add as much as I can. I'll try to bring as much as I can that I've carried over the years. I'm super excited. I can't wait to get going. I'm happy it's all finals. I'm looking forward to getting on the grass. So one player that I'm really, really excited to see in Old Gold, fingers crossed, on Saturday against Chelsea. One big sale then. It was the talk of deadline day, really, and I've done videos on it. I did TikToks on it at the start of the month saying the talk, or one of the talks of the January transfer window, could well be Jorgen Strand Larsen, and it certainly was. What a crazy, crazy story this was over the last few days or so for Jorgen Strand Larsen and for Wolves fans as well. Of course, we saw the rumours that Jorge Mendes and the intermediaries were involved in this deal, and it was on Thursday, I think, it was pretty much said that a deal was agreed for it to go in and around that £50 million mark, all together with the add-ons. And I think every single Wolves fan, probably Nathan Shee, probably Matt Jackson, were rubbing their hands together at the thought of this. But for whatever reason, a formal offer, that deal was agreed between the intermediaries, a formal offer did not arrive from Crystal Palace. However, again, Saturday, Sunday, it blew up. It happened so quickly. Of course, the huge factor was going to be about Jean-Philippe Mateta's move, or potential move, to AC Milan. And that story changed so much yesterday. As you will know now, Mateta's got an issue with his knee. It sounds like he's going to need surgery on it. I don't know if Crystal Palace tried to play a fast one, knowing this and seeing if the move would go through, and AC Milan would then have to deal with that afterwards. But around about mid-afternoonish yesterday is when the move for Mateta fell through, and there was huge concern that this was going to have an impact on whether Crystal Palace were going to be signing Jorgen Strand Larsen. But thankfully, a lot of sources jumped on that quite quickly, said that Strand Larsen to Palace is still very likely to happen. And of course it did. It was the biggest one of the biggest transfers of the window. It broke Crystal Palace's transfer record and just 1 goal for Wolves in the Premier League this season. 0 goals from open play in the Premier League this season. Of course, his only goal being from the penalty spot in a defeat against Burnley. 7 goals in all comps. 3 of those, of course, were against Shrewsbury in the FA Cup. And look, fantastic players for us last season. I think the lack of service this year has probably not helped him. But he's checked out ultimately, hasn't he? I think as soon as that Newcastle move didn't come to fruition, he has struggled with fitness and injuries at the start of the season. I think he lost all sorts of momentum. For me, it's the right move. He wasn't going to be part of the journey next year. Wolves have squeezed a lot of money out of this deal. I think in the start of the month, if somebody said to you, you'll be given 35 million for Jorgen Strand Larsen, I think a lot of people probably would have shaken your hand. The fact that Wolves have got up to 48 million, it's 43 plus 5 million, which I believe is going to be based on appearances. I think Wolves will probably get about 500k every 30 appearances, I believe, something like that. That is not a bad piece of business. As long as he stays quiet against us when we visit Selhurst Park later on in the season. But you know, he was a big part for us last year. I like Jorgen Strand Larsen, but I don't think mentally he was at it this year at all for Wolves, and that's obviously a shame for Wolves. Let's talk about some deals that could have happened. Che Adams was one, of course. Again, another player rumoured back end of last week. It's one of those you think, oh, someone's on the wind up here now. Come Saturday, Sunday, it was still reported that Wolves wanted Che Adams and wanted him as well as Adam Armstrong. Now, a bid was put forward from Wolves around about £8 million, I believe, late on Sunday night. But up till yesterday, there was no response really from Torino, and they did sort of reject that approach from Wolves. They want to keep him. Obviously, it's late in the window as well. So, Che Adams did not end up joining Wolverhampton Wanderers. However, possibly want to keep an eye on for the summer. Him and Adam Armstrong had a very good relationship in regards to goals at Southampton, so could be an option to look at for next season. One other player that Wolves did show interest in was Everton's Nathan Patterson. I was told about this yesterday through agents as well, that Wolves had showed an interest in him. However, he's sort of Everton minutes have been a little bit limited, but Everton are still keen to keep him around. He wants minutes to make Scotland's World Cup squad. Very interested by this one because obviously a right back. Another story that came out was from the Netherlands as well, that Wolves had made an approach for FC Twente right back Bart van Rooij for around about 10 million euros, they believe. But of course, again, so late in the window, Twente didn't want to lose a key player, so he stayed put as well. So Wolves didn't end up bringing a new right back in. Of course, we saw Rodrigo Gomes play at right wing back during the weekend. We still have Jackson Chichua there as well. So I do wonder if one of those deals got over the line, would the likes of David Muller-Wolford possibly be let go, and it will allow Rodrigo Gomes to move over to the left, or did a potential deal not come to fruition for Jackson Chichua? I don't know. Very interesting that Wolves reportedly looking at a couple of right backs before the deadline. Speaking about David Muller-Wolford as well, Fabrizio Romano has given us an update today. We knew there was genuine interest from AS Roma, 10 million euros, which was rejected last week. However, Fabrizio Romano reported today that Nottingham Forest also came forward with a proposal for Wolves, a package of up to £40 million over the last couple of days of the transfer window. Of course, again, it did not come to fruition. Forest ended up signing Luca Netz, I think, from Germany to fill that void for them. But interesting, a couple of bids for him. Let's say 14 million as a package. We don't know. They could be offering 6 or 7 million up front and 7 in add-ons. We don't know why the deal wasn't worth it. But we all seem pretty keen on keeping him. Maybe they've got a little bit of encouragement that they could potentially keep hold of him up until next season. Let's wait and see. One deal that I'm going to have a look at in a second as well is Emanuel Agoume. Now, that Besiktas have come back to the table. I mentioned this on Sunday's video, and there was quite a lot of talk about this yesterday on social media as well by the guys over in Turkey. So Wolves and Besiktas have reportedly come to an agreement for Agoume, 17 million euros, which is a very decent fee, I think, for Agoume. However, there was discussions ongoing yesterday in regards to who was going to be paying the FIFA solidarity contribution. Now, this was the sticking point last time out as well. Not many people have heard of this. Basically, it's a good incentive. It's to give a percentage, normally about 5% of the fee, to the former clubs that have basically trained and developed a player. Now, for Agbadou, there were a couple of clubs, I think, much smaller than the likes of Besiktas and Wolves that were going to be really benefiting from this. And altogether, for the 2 or 3 clubs that were involved, it was about 850k. So a decent-ish fee that Wolves were expecting Besiktas to pay last time out, and Besiktas were expecting Wolves to pay. And that's what the fallout was reportedly over. Now, as of yesterday, that is what was going on. I'm going to have a quick look now to see if there was any update on Emanuel Agoume. Now, the Turkish window, I believe, is still open at the moment, and that's why, potentially, that deal hasn't come through. I'm just looking now, and in Turkey, they believe the deal could be done either later today or by tomorrow. But a lot of Turkish fans, as you can expect, very, very frustrated with that deal because the news first broke at the start of December. And of course, now we are at the start of Feb. It's taken 60 plus days for them to get this deal done. Only the Wolves higher-ups and only the Besiktas higher-ups will probably know what's going on at the moment and who is to blame. But Emanuel Agoume is still very likely to go between, between now and the end of the window. The window's done for us, but between now and the end of the Turkish window, of course. And that's why I thought yesterday maybe we could see some depth. Extra depth of centre-backs, but if you think we've got Doc, Krejci, Mosquera, Santi Bueno, Totti still to come back as well. I'm probably missing someone absolutely obvious, but there's 5 or 6 players there at least that can fill in there if needed. I think between now and the end of the season would probably be okay. And then finally, 21's players. We've had 2 players leave the club by mutual consent yesterday, who were Josh Essen and Leo Lopez as well. I believe both players were coming up to the end of their contracts anyway, but this will give them a chance to sort of have a little bit more flexibility and join clubs as free agents as and when over the next few weeks or months as well. So all the best to those players for the future. And I believe that is all for now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it today. I'll may do more in-depth videos on a couple of the new signings in the next day or two as well. So keep an eye out for that one. And we'll be back later on in the week for a little bit of normality. Transfer window done. We'll have our match preview ahead of the Wolves-Chelsea game, as well as Wolves try and look to get some more points on the board this weekend back at Molineux as well. As always, guys, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. As always, I really appreciate your support. Another transfer window done. It has drained the life out of me. It's been a long window. But we're here at the other side and here to tell the tale as well. But enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.